Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.
Hello, RailCats fans, and welcome back to another edition of the RailCats Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Savedich, and today we'll be discussing three returning players and one new player that the RailCats decided to sign over the last week. Like I said in my my social media post that I put that my work has temporarily promoted me to a manager spot. The person that is one of the people that are above me, she's going on maternity leave, so I'm filling her role for probably the next 3-ish months. So it's going to be a little difficult to put content out right away like I normally have been doing. Typically I have a good schedule to where like I get off at 2 or 3 o'clock and I'm able to look at American Association transaction page and stuff like that and see, what transactions have, who've been re-signed and stuff like that. But now that I'm getting off at like 5 o'clock, I'm working 10-hour days, so there's not a lot of time for me to kind of come home and get dinner ready and all the other stuff that my daily tasks, I'm limited to what I have and what I can and can't do, and I'm tired by the time I get home, so it's just going to take me a minute to get used to that. But it's not so much like that part of it sucks, it's the with working in retail, I'm not always opening, so there'll be days that I'll be closing. So there's going to be days that I'll go in at noon or 1 o'clock. So I will probably miss a lot of the transactions that happen throughout the week-ish. But it'll probably be, I'll do my best to kind of have things uploaded. Like I know there's in a couple weeks, like I close back-to-back days. So like I'll be able to do something like when I get home or like the morning before I go to work, I'll be able to do stuff. So I just have to like adjust my schedule around. So it won't be as consistent. So, the one thing I'll try to keep consistent is the podcasting uploads, just depending on when I get the opportunity. So it'll either be like Sunday or Monday. I don't want to push it to any later than it needs to be, just because the later you go in the week, the more it kind of gets confusing on when things get done. So I'll try my best, or maybe a Saturday. It'll just all kind of depend. And I know it's kind of been a little weird. The American Association really hasn't been posting things like they're really good about like noon is like when they adjust things, but like I know a couple weeks ago they had an issue with their web page, so like I couldn't look at it and then nothing was there, and like the next day it showed that it was there. It was just something that they're not like, it doesn't seem like things are being uploaded consistently as it was been or as it has been. So I know I've been like late on a couple of those that it just kind of like, I'm like, oh well, I checked yesterday all day and it's not there, and all of a sudden it's popped up. So I apologize for that portion of it. I know probably most people don't necessarily care, but I care. So that's it gets a little frustrating to me because I'm like, I know, like I look at the time all the time. I look at the transaction page every day about this time, and when it's not there, I don't check because that's when they uploaded and it hasn't been uploaded. So then I go to the next day, I'm like, where did this come from? So a little disappointed on that portion of it. Maybe I need to check it right before I go to bed, change my schedule up a little bit on that one. So talking about the three players that re-signed, we got Jackson Valera back, Francisco Del Valle back, and a new pitcher, Franklin Perez. The one that, I was curious to see if they were going to bring back Valera, to be honest. Well, actually, I was really concerned. I was not concerned. I was really intrigued to see if they were going to bring both of these players back. Valera, I just think he brings a different perspective to the way the RailCats are built, I should say. What I mean by that is, like, a lot of the players that obviously Lamar Rogers is bringing in is players that have great work ethics, and this is one that, like, on Instagram, he's always in the batting cage, always doing something. He's 31 years old, but he's still just doing his life, living his life to the best of his ability, playing baseball, something he enjoys doing. So I guarantee you, like during the summer, when he comes up this way, he just kind of does what he wants and goes on it. But like the one thing that intrigues me the most is, I know I talked about it last year a lot, is I'll see him on first base and he'll be, glove off, looking around, talking to the umpire, talking to the player, just has a smile on his face, and then he puts the glove back on, and then it's just like, he's his focus mode and his ability to play defense. Um, you know, I thought when they released Tapia that I was like, oh, why did they get rid of him? Like he seemed decently good on the field, and then Valera came in, he was able to hit a lot better than Tapia was. So you didn't really lose. You gained someone that can hit the ball and still play really good defense. So in the long run of things, it was better for him. This will be his first full year. I know he was a little bit. I think it was towards the in June. So midway through the second month, technically, he was re-signed, and like I said in my article, just discussion with players, or not players, with fans. They were talking about how they didn't think, he should, where he was in the lineup, because he was in that, second, third, fourth role, that with his power that he shouldn't be in that role necessarily. And you're right. He didn't bring a lot of power. He only had 3 home runs, and the last 3 home runs were like the last month of the year. But he was batting at 293, which I believe was second. Yeah, he was second with the RailCats at 293, just below Gio Diaz there. He only played 64 games, but like his ability for RBI totals was 45, and played, I have it written down in the article. He 33 less games, and he was fourth. So like he was someone that was necessary. I liked the way that he was able to hit the ball. It wasn't necessarily a hit a home run kind of game. Obviously he only hit 3, so it wasn't like a terrible amount of home runs, but he was able to pick holes and gaps, and he was a guy that can just move the line. And sometimes you just need a guy to move the line, especially in a situation where the RailCats didn't really have the offensive numbers necessarily to help out. You had players like Valera that were able to get on base and just kind of help move the line and put the ball necessarily where it needed to go. Yeah, sometimes it would be nice to hit more home runs, but sometimes if you just hit solo home runs, that's only going to be, you're only scoring 1 run. But sometimes if you're able to hit a double or a sac fly or something else to get a run in, you're just kind of moving the line, you're being more productive. That to me is a huge thing, and I take that in perspective of, was it last week on the Indie Ballers, probably was Mike Perez, who is the well, now I can't. Now I'm having a brain fart. Juliet Slammers, I believe that's his head. He's the manager on there, and he was talking about his interns, basically like the stats interns, whatever, looking at like situational hitting, and not so much like straight up batting average and all that. And that's, I would really like to see those numbers, because that's kind of the thing that I like to see, is who in these certain situations is producing. Like that, those are numbers that may not be public to us. So it's like, you bring in on a Valera, and he's not very, obviously his batting average is just under 3, and he was second on the team. So like, no matter what, you're gonna bring him back. But I'm just curious to see like the hitting situations. Is he someone that if there's a guy on third, he's just not striking out and not producing a run? Like I think that's someone that's going to be able to put the ball in play is always a big thing to me. That's why I still, when guys have huge strikeout numbers, I'm still a believer in someone just to get on base or be productive over someone that strikes out. Like that's cool. You can hit 20 home runs in a season, but if you strike out 500 times, you know, out of those 500 times, how many of those players were sitting on third base with one out that you could have, easily just got the ball in the air. Like there's certain things to just big numbers, and I think that in baseball been so we're so offensively driven now that we've lost sight to what actually makes the game of baseball so great to watch is the chess pieces that are being moved. And it's just like watching a football game and nothing but the quarterbacks are just throwing the ball downfield and hoping that one of their guys are going to catch it. Like that's something that I feel like the way baseball's gone. Like, yeah, deep balls are fun and all, but like where's the fun, intriguing portions of baseball? And I we're doing the indie ball, anything doing with indie ball really. You always hear people talk about the show, the not so much like the game itself, but like what goes around it. And only a select few people, percentage wise, really go to a baseball game at this level to watch the actual baseball. Most times it's just to entertain their kids or get away or have something to do that's cheapish to do. But that's beside the point of what I'm getting at. Just looking from a baseball perspective, I think this is a guy that you're going to need. I think he's hardworking. He comes to a smile on his face. He's not. He doesn't seem arrogant. He seems like a kind of player that's just gonna come to the ballpark. He's gonna lighten the mood in the locker room, and that's something you're gonna need in the locker room, the dugout, whatever you want to call it. That's what they're going to need. They need someone that's just gonna lighten the mood because it can be a grind. It can be annoying. It can be hard, and I think this is just a guy that wants to play baseball and that wants to win. So, I mean, that's just a guy. These are the kind of people that you're going to need. Like LG Castillo told me, he doesn't care about anything else. He just cares about winning. Yeah, you want to move up to the next level, but sometimes moving up to the next level means winning at the level you are now. So I really think with a full season, I think you're going to see and this year if you watch him play, I don't want you to look at like his power numbers. I just want to look at, what situation he's in. Is it he just takes a ball to right field because that's the pitch that's given to him and he does that perfectly well. And I think you just still need those you need those kind of people. But you also need people that do have the power. And that leads me to the next guy, which is Francisco Del Valle, which, he started out the year really, really well. And homers, I think he hit, let me look up here real quick. At the beginning of the year, I just gotta get the right. Right. Hit 3 home runs in the matter of 5 games. Like he just started out so well. And then, throughout the rest of the season, he kind of sputtered out. He would hit a home run here or there. Like there's just a lot of no home runs until like you get to the later portion of the year where he hit 3 out of the last 10. He came up with a total of 10 home runs, but 60% of those home runs came the first month and the last month of the year. He has the ability to home run. He led the RailCats in home runs last year. He has that ability. He's a nice left-handed hitter that can hit the ball far, and especially with what the RailCats have done with the bullpens from right field, he's able to hit more of those. It's just he needs to be a little bit more consistent with it. This is a guy that I could see him playing more of the let's just say DH role. I know I've said that about quite a few people, is like the DH role of it. I just think that with the outfield numbers, I think this year there's going to be more of a battle for the outfield than there is going to be a battle anywhere else, because I think that was one area to kind of improve upon is that portion of it. And it's not necessarily like that all the players they had last year, Jesus Mariaga being the best center fielder probably in the league. You could argue could be the best player in the league. Um, but then you had two corner guys that, obviously LG was hurt last year, a little bit of that, and then Del Valle doing what he was able to do. I just think that the move from taking him from left field to right field improved his ability to play defense. I just don't think he's much of a left fielder, because I know there's not a lot of people that may not understand the outfield necessarily, because the way you're able to read a ball is a big contributor to what you're able to do. You don't have to be the fastest guy to play the outfield and make really good catches. Now, sometimes you need really good speed to make those catches that go in the gap that are almost home runs, that it's just you just need pure speed to get there. But 90% of the time it's your first step. How are you reading the ball? And I just think when you put him in right field, he was able to read the ball better than he was in left field. I forget what game it was. He hit the ball, or the opposing team hit the ball, and you're like, that should be a catchable ball, and he underran it or overshot. I don't know what it was, but it just blatantly just misread the ball. And the more you see that, and those don't pop up on the error sheet portion of it, but that's just something that you need to see. And I think putting him in right field was just a better option, and putting LG in left was the better option. But I just, right now, last year you didn't have, at this point, 4 players sitting in the outfield. I think we just had 3. Actually, I think before the season started, we had 2. So I think it was just one of those situations where you're obviously Mariaga is going to be a lock at center. The corners are going to battle for a position to actually play the position, and then anyone that's left out is either going to get released or is probably going to get in that DH role. But again, you have the infielders who at this point also have 4, and there's only 3. Not 4. They have 5 and 4 places to fill. But with the rotation that you have now, I mean, really, Marcos Gonzalez, probably, Miguel Sierra is probably going to be the short. I think I just have to look at everything else, but I'm just saying, like, right now, Valera is probably going to be your lock at first. So really your second and your actually, probably Mikey Perez is probably going to play your second or short. So, I mean, you could probably interchange Sierra and Perez there. But your third base with Gonzalez and Contreras is probably going to be your battle there for third base. But one of those could end up being your DH role. So, like, there's still situations, like, it's so hard to pinpoint, what the situation is going to be. And also you have two catchers that can both hit the ball, and they're both good at defensive. It's like there should be a battle this year for the DH role. I know I keep relying on the DH role a lot. I keep saying the DH role a lot, but the situation is last year I don't think they really truly had a DH person, and the DH is becoming part of the game, and you're just going to need someone that's able to hit the ball, not necessarily always for power, but someone that's always productively, I know the DH has kind of been your power hitter, but I think in this situation, you just need a DH, almost bring it back to like high school, where you just get a guy that can just hit the ball. Like, you just need a guy that can hit the ball. So these are just type of players that, I keep looking for, because they're just the type of people that we have to deal with. And I could see them necessarily bringing on another infielder and another outfielder just for competition's sake. But I know they have to hit the 30 limit rule is where they're kind of at, and right now they're at 21 players, and you're probably going to add a couple more pitchers, but you need nine more players in total. I would just say reach that threshold, reach the 30 player threshold, and yeah, you might have to cut a lot of people, but I would rather see them pile everyone on and see what you're going to get out of it. You could add. You're gonna probably add a couple more pitchers. You could add another catcher, probably 2 more infielders, another outfielder or so, and go from there. Like, bring that competition and really use that to drive. And yet again, it could be one of those possibilities to where maybe not necessarily you want to bring a 30-man roster into spring training, um, because maybe you're just wanting them to gel sooner. And I think that's a lot of the issue is sometimes you need the players to gel together, and if you don't get that gelling portion started sooner than later, that's when you kind of have to wait until halfway through the season to figure out what kind of team you have. So it's just gonna be interesting to see how he's gonna play that one out, how Rodgers is gonna play that one out. But then going ahead into the third and final player of the signing was a Franklin Perez. I know that in my article, I said that he played his whole seasons with Houston, but he played a little bit last the from the 2018 season on. He played in the Detroit system. This is it's kind of odd how it all kind of rolls together here. Because when you look at his numbers in the Houston organization, his numbers got better and better. And then when he gets into the Detroit um, affiliation, his numbers kind of get worse. I'm just, he's just the type of player that I think might possibly have a bit of, he has a lock around himself. And I think him coming back into independent ball and him probably competing for the ace role. I really do. I think he could compete for the ace role. I really think out of everyone so far that they have signed, you have Cuello, Alexander and Tiedemann and all these other. I just really think that he could be that guy that could fill into that ace role. And when you take all of his numbers together, he has an ERA of 4.32, and really the last little bit of last year, he had an ERA of 12, but he played in 5 games. He didn't start any of those. He had only 6 innings pitched, and that was in just single A with Detroit. And then rookie ball, he didn't start a game again. Like you're starting to see like the players, their numbers when they start to kind of decline a little bit is when they start getting kicked out of their starting role and they're more into the reliever role, because if you give up a hit or two, that's really going to hurt you. But what I really like to see is his home runs per 9 are down, just under point, or just at 0.6, and his hits are at 8.5. And a lot of players that you're bringing in have higher, they're either at 9 or higher. The strikeouts are a little bit lower, the walks are lower. So I mean, I'll take that. The guy, he's going to be able. He's almost like a Peyton Long kind of situation. That the home run numbers aren't there. I mean, really, he's only given up 17 home runs in 271 innings. Like, that's impressive, especially playing mostly in affiliate ball. I mean, it's low A or rookie ball. I know you had the handful of games, 7 games that he pitched in Double A, which he had a 3.09 ERA, which I'm just surprised that they got rid of him. But like I said, a lot of that's politics, so it's so hard to kind of tell who or why someone gets released in those situations. So I just think overall he's just going to be a guy that's going to battle for that situation. So that's really the big thing for me, is he's going to be able to battle and can probably compete for that overall first ace role ish. So yeah, I'm excited to see him. He's 26 from Venezuela. Like, you're obviously, we get a lot of Venezuelan, those kind of players, because I think that's just the kind of culture that we're kind of going towards with what Lamar Rogers wants, because he knows their work ethic. Because most of the time that I see on like the players I do follow on Instagram, it's those players that are from Venezuela or from Colombia that are still in the batting cage and working and doing the other players. I just don't see that. I don't see, they could just keep themselves, they're personalized private and what they do private, which is, perfectly fine. Go right ahead. It's just, that's what I've seen. Most of the times it's the other players I see, and granted, it's two different two different social economy, whatever how you want to pronounce it. I can't speak today. The economies are different. Obviously playing in the United States versus probably Venezuela or Colombia, that kind of like the pay is going to be better, so they're able to save the money that they make here and they can survive through there, whereas players that live in the United States can't necessarily make it here, so they have to get other jobs to feed their habits they have now. So like there's just different perspectives of each situation, and I just think that in the situation of running a baseball team necessarily, Lamar Rogers wants someone that's fully invested in playing baseball. So I just think it's just one of those situations that were that's why you're seeing a lot more of the international players than you are seeing American players necessarily. But that's not to take anything away from American players. Obviously, we bring all these players in and nothing productive has been done. And you look at like Kansas City and all these other teams where they have more of the American players and they're succeeding. So like I just don't, it's just kind of hard to tell what the difference is going to be in those situations. But going, I guess I forgot to mention this. Going back to Del Valle for a minute, I didn't really spend too much terrible time with him, but he was one of those players that he was second in RBIs at 58. Just shy of 94 hits, and he played 97 games. He's a reliable source that the RailCats are going to need. So I'm not knocking him in any way. I just think that the worst part of him is his defense. But can we sacrifice defense for what he does at the plate? Yeah, you can. That's why that's why I think he's a perfect candidate necessarily for playing the DH role, is because I think out of everyone, if we're going to rank the fielding positions or fielders, I would probably rank him a little bit to the bottom. And that's nothing like bad. That's just how I see it. That's how I visually see him on the field, which not saying is necessarily a bad thing. It's just there could be another role for him in a different situation. So yeah. I think that's going to go ahead and wrap it up. I know it's actually under 30 minutes, which is actually a surprise on that portion of it. But yeah, I'm recording the day of the Super Bowl, so I guess enjoy the Super Bowl, and it should be out before the Super Bowl starts. So enjoy yourself at the Super Bowl, and enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll keep you guys updated as much as possible. Be sure to follow me on the social media platforms. Be sure to subscribe to the website. It's free. There's no ads, no nothing, just so that way you can get updated on signings and stuff like that. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening, whenever you're watching this, and go Cats.
The 0-2. Swing and a miss, strike three. Wrap this one up in green and white.